If you saw him on the street, you would probably forget him a few seconds later. He did not look important. He did not look successful. He did not look like someone with a story worth listening to. Is exactly why this story matters. Every winter morning, before the city fully woke up, an old man pushed a small wooden cart through the snow-covered streets. The air was cold enough to hurt the lungs, and the ground made a soft sound under his tired shoes. While the city slept, he was already moving, slowly but with purpose. He sold snow, not as a joke, not as a strange idea, but as his way to survive. The man lived alone in a small room near the edge of the city. The walls were thin and the window let the cold in, but it was quiet, and that was enough for him. He woke up before sunrise every day, not because he wanted to, but because his body no longer allowed deep rest. He sat on the bed for a moment, breathing, feeling the pain in his knees and the stiffness in his hands. Age spoke to him early each morning, reminding him that time was not on his side. Still, he stood up. He washed his face with cold water, put on his old coat, and wrapped a scarf around his neck. The coat had been repaired many times. It was thin, but it carried years of habit and effort. Outside, the world was white and silent. He walked carefully to places where the snow was clean and untouched. With a small shovel, he filled metal containers, treating the snow gently, as if it mattered how it was handled. When the cart was full, he began his long walk through the city. Fresh snow, he said calmly, clean snow. His voice was never loud. He did not try to convince anyone. He simply passed through the streets, offering what he had. Some shop owners knew him well. They waited for him on cold mornings. Snow helped them keep food fresh and drinks cold. They paid him fairly, sometimes without words, sometimes with a cup of hot tea placed quietly in his hands. Is it heavy? Is it cold? Why do you sell snow? He answered patiently every time, never annoyed, never rushed, because this is honest work, he once said. And honest work keeps a person standing. Not everyone was kind. Some people laughed when they heard about him. Some ignored him completely, walking past as if he were part of the street itself. One man stopped him once and said, "This job has no future. You should stop." The old man looked at him calmly and replied, "Neither does waiting for life to be easy." Winter was hard on him. Some days the snow felt too much, making the streets heavy and slow. His hands lost feeling. His back hurt. On many days, he sold almost nothing. He returned home with empty pockets and tired legs, but never with regret. At night, he sat alone, eating simple food in silence, sometimes thinking about the years behind him, sometimes thinking about nothing at all. And every morning he returned. One afternoon, a young boy walked beside the cart for a long time. The boy's shoes were broken, and his jacket was too thin for the cold. Finally, the boy asked quietly, "Sir, are you poor?" The old man stopped the cart and thought for a moment. "I have little money," he said, "but I am still moving. That matters more." The boy did not understand at first, but he stayed silent, listening. Years passed and the city changed. Machines replaced old ways. People no longer needed snow like before. Fewer people stopped More people walked past, without looking. The old man moved slower now, but he still moved forward one step at a time. Then one winter, he did not come. At first, no one noticed. Then days passed. The snow still fell. The streets were still white, but the familiar voice was gone. The cart never appeared. People felt the silence before. They understood it. Later, they learned that the snow seller had passed quietly, without noise, without attention, just like he had lived. And only then did people begin to remember him clearly. They remembered his patience. They remembered his calm presence. They remembered how he never complained. Later, they learned that the snow seller had passed quietly, without noise, without attention, just like he had lived. And only then did people begin to remember him clearly. They remembered how he never rushed even when the cold was strong and the streets were hard to walk. They remembered how his voice was always calm, never asking for more than what was fair. Some remembered how he stopped to answer children's questions, even on the hardest days, and how he treated his work as something honest, not small. A shop owner remembered the mornings when the old man arrived before sunrise, pushing his cart through the snow while the rest of the city slept. He remembered the way the man accepted payment with quiet respect, never counting the money in front of others, never complaining. Another person remembered laughing at him once and now felt a strange weight in the chest, a feeling that came too late. Children asked where the old man had gone. No one knew what to say. The streets felt colder without the sound of his cart. The silence felt heavier than the snow itself. People continued their lives, but something small had changed. Some walked a little slower. Some complained a little less. Some thought about work differently. They realized that the old man had never waited for perfect conditions. He worked with what he had in the season he was given without excuses. The snow still fell every winter. It always would. But now, when people saw the white streets in the early morning, some of them remembered a man who moved forward when it was cold, who lived with dignity when life was not kind, and who proved that even the simplest work can carry meaning. The snow seller left no money behind. He left no name written anywhere. What he left was quieter than that and stronger. He left an example, and for those who understood it, that was enough. Time passed, but the memory of the snow seller did not disappear as quickly as people expected. On quiet winter mornings, when the streets were still, empty, and the air felt sharp, some people found themselves listening without knowing why, as if they were waiting to hear his calm voice again. Of course, it never came, but the habit of remembering stayed. A young man who worked in a small shop began opening his store earlier. He did not know why he started doing this. He only remembered that someone once believed mornings mattered. A woman who often complained about her work noticed that she complained less. She remembered an old man who never spoke badly about his job, even when it was heavy and cold. The children who once followed the cart grew older. Some forgot the details of his face, but they remembered the feeling he gave them. They remembered that work did not always have to be loud to be meaningful, and that moving forward slowly was still moving forward. The city continued to change. Machines replaced hands. Speed replaced patience. People talked more about success and less about effort. But every winter, when the first snow fell, the memory returned quietly, like a familiar thought. Some people began to understand that the snow seller had never tried to teach a lesson. He never told anyone how to live. He simply lived in a way that could be seen if someone chose to look. He showed that dignity does not come from money, but from how a person carries their life. He showed that purpose does not need applause. And he showed that even when life gives you something cold and heavy, you can still hold it with care. The snow seller did not change the city. He did not change the world. But he changed the way some people looked at their own lives. And sometimes that kind of change is the only one that truly lasts. And so, the snow seller became a quiet part of the city's memory. Not a story people told loudly, but one they carried inside without realizing it. On cold mornings, when work felt heavy and motivation felt far away, some people remembered him without saying his name. They remembered a man who never waited for life to be kind before moving forward. He had no special talent, no powerful voice, no moment of glory. What he had was consistency. Day after day, winter after winter, he showed up. He pushed his cart through the cold, not because he believed things would suddenly improve, but because stopping felt worse than continuing, and that simple choice changed how people understood strength. Strength was not speed. It was not comfort. It was not success. Strength was waking up and moving anyway. The snow seller never asked to be remembered. He never tried to leave a message behind, but somehow he did. A message without words, carried by quiet mornings and white streets. And maybe that is why his story matters. Because not everyone will be famous. Not everyone will be praised. Not everyone will be seen. But everyone can move forward, even slowly. Everyone can work with dignity. Everyone can choose not to give up. If this story felt familiar, it is because the snow seller is not just a character. He is anyone who keeps going when life feels cold. He is anyone who works without applause. He is anyone who refuses to stop. And maybe, in some way, he is you. So the next time life feels heavy, remember the man with the wooden cart. Remember that moving slowly is still moving, and remember that quiet effort can last longer than noise. Thank you for staying until the end. If this story spoke to you, stay here. More stories are waiting.